Welcome in, everybody. 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. We're back here having some fun after the incredible Brent Weiss interview. If you missed it, go back and check the notes on that one. It was absolutely phenomenal. Brent knows his shit better than most have forgotten. Here's the thing. It is that time of year again where we like to talk about the price increase discussion. The big third parties are out right now doing it across the country, knocking on doors, asking for extra money, giving their stories. I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of this time of year because A, nothing gives me more pleasure than negotiating and arguing with vendors over what they believe their value is versus what it is actually to the dealership in a day-to-day, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, year-to-year basis, because we see that data. We know that data. See, not only do we take and model their data, which they think is the end-all be-all, but we take and combine that with dealer CRM data. That's the truest story you can look for. Anyone wants to talk about attribution, as dumb as that word is, the point of it is to find out activity, which is what we do here. We're activities tracker. So we want to see what's going on here. Oh, and don't worry, third parties. Yes, I consider what traffic you bring to the websites. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your hundreds of visitors. And if it's more than hundreds of visitors coming from a referral on a third party, folks, got news for you. It's probably social traffic that you're either paying for somewhere else or doing yourself. So don't buy into the idea that their social traffic is any more different or unique than that of the guy you're using down the street, because it is not. Much like there's one internet, there's one fucking Facebook. So, yeah, their audience, their people. The idea the consumer doesn't cross-shop is bullshit. So let's get that out of the way, and let's move into the actual price increase discussion. So with the price increase discussion, we hear a lot of fun things. Let's see, what do I have down first? The first one that I have here, very fun. It is the COVID price recovery, okay? So these were about discounts they gave during COVID that they now want to make good on for themselves, which is weird because our company probably started the COVID discount, okay? Giving 50% off to clients right out of the gate and fighting with all of these third parties behind closed doors, trying to get them to agree to this, along with other people who were involved in the fight. It wasn't just us, but we were definitely one of the first who were knocking on that door wanting to do that. Turns out they want that back. Now, I don't really understand how that's supposed to work because that was the deal. You were doing it as a service. Now you're all of a sudden, you're like, well, good tidings. Now we're going to take our goodwill back, huh? So that's the first lame thing that we've heard. Another lame one that we've heard is the sunsetting or combining of products. Basically, your old price is no longer available because, well, we need to raise it. And that's the fact of the matter. Here's the bigger thing. Everybody wants to act like these websites have changed. Even the ones that go and rebrand themselves completely unnecessarily. By the way, already had a good brand, decided to rebrand it as something dumber than that. When they all come together and they pitch to be the all-in-one, do it here, that's really about us, right? They're talking to dealers when they tell us these stories about all the things they can do. But they're a consumer-driven website. So what the fuck does that mean to the consumer? What does it do there? It does the same thing, and in some cases less than it used to during COVID. So your data is less, your opportunities are less, but you're trying to charge more. That's some really fucked up math, frankly. So, but it's not beyond big corporations to need to do so. So I get it. It's cool. There's a way to go about asking for a price increase, and there's a way to go about making it look like you're greedy. Okay? All right, there's one third party out there. They come out every year now for the last two, pre-COVID or post-COVID, and they go for a couple $100 on that product, a couple $100 on that product. Just a couple hundred. Done. Everybody looks at the data. It's like, oh, wow. This particular vendor has one of the better cost per leads when aggregated against the country, and they're doing a couple hundred, for whatever reason, whether it's to not be noticed, whether it's to just get a little here, a little there, a little take a penny from the jar scenario. I don't know. But I like it because it is rarely met with any real, well, what the fuck? Why would I keep doing this? Because again, if you consult the data upon any of these price increases, I hope you have historical data to reference for these vendors because you deserve it. If you don't, Call us, we'll get it for you. And the next time they call, we can fight with them for you. With data, by the way, I'm not an emotions guy. These are a facts scenario for me. So we go through the historical data. You still look at it. You're like, look, even if the bill went up $500, the cost per lead would then go to this, which would still make it look like this. Cost per sale would move to this. That number is still reasonable. We're cool. Let's keep moving. Great. Then we get, this is the fun one. Then we get the vendor who comes out and decides that, you know what? It's time to get pricing back in line. It's time to do right by ourselves, not by our dealers. Okay, good. So what do they come out and do? Well, they come out and they announce almost 60% price increases in some cases across the country. They were fairly consistent of 40 or better, though, for the most part, in their increases. And they did it sort of batching. Again, we're fortunate to be nationwide in that way, so you see it come out of one coast or come out of the Midwest. It happens. So it comes to a large group that we work with here in the Midwest, and we're like, okay, let's take a look at this. Some of these stores were on some really low-end pricing. So we are reasonable people, okay? I know that people make it think that I am not and the clients I work with are not, but we're actually beyond reasonable because we use data to fuel our discussion. So if you come to me for a price increase, my suggestion is to make sure you have your data in a line, okay? Because if you don't, I'm going to embarrass you. And I'm not going to pay your increase. And if you don't stay with my price, I'm just going to leave and go somewhere else. Because ultimately, I believe dealers need to rotate between the big four. You don't need to be on all four. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. But they all come in their values, their peaks, their windows. They all do. For instance, there is another vendor. Third-party vendors. Again, we're all talking about the same four people here. Here they are. And they come out and they are not looking to price increase because they haven't been with some of these stores for a group that we're with here for a while, like 5 years. So they send an email to me that's like, hey, love to have these guys back. Here's what they paid before. Here's what we're offering them now. But I remember why we left back then. And it was because the price increase went from X all the way to X. Well, they were showing that number. That really big, ugly number. And then below it, they were showing what they were willing to do today. Well, mercy me. How did this happen? How did you lower your price? All I had to do was wait 5 years. Your price came down by, thousands of dollars and we're good to go. But what this does, right, is it precipitates the opportunity to look at this because we were already disheartened with another third-party vendor. But the dealers believe, as well, I think they should, that used car business comes from these guys. I know people say, go on your own, you don't need them. I've been doing this 20 years. I think that's actually a false sense of security. I do. Having none of them is not a suggestion I would give you. Having 1 to 2 of them, I can dig it. Which ones? Don't know. Look at your area. Look at your data. See what goes on with your customers and your teams. Then you can make those decisions. So when we were disheartened with the other third-party vendor, and we went out, and these guys came to us and said, we'd love to have you back. We went back to the disheartened vendor, and we said, look, here's where we're at. Your cost per lead is astronomical. And this particular vendor typically has the highest cost per lead in most cases, in most groups, in most parts of the country. They just do. They're just a more expensive product. They don't supply as many leads and opportunities, thus a higher cost per lead. But you must know this. On the back half, they typically have average to above average close rate. Okay, and if you want to take it a step further, if you do, you can take that, extrapolate it out to the gross per unit. Okay? Take gross per unit sold, look at that for cost per sale, and see if we have ourselves a winner. It's not fucking hard math. It is just math. That's all it is. So when you know that data, you're as informed and as empowered as you can be to tell someone who wants to price increase you by 50, 60%, go pound sand. Not interested. So what do? They come back to us and they say, well, what are you interested in? And now we're in a fucking car deal, right? And now I'm just as excited as I can be. I don't have a lot of other things that get me this excited when it comes to work than the negotiation of major corporations and small dealers. I love it, okay? So then it begins. Well, I'm a car guy, so I typically start at half of anything, okay? Doesn't matter. If I say this and you say that, I will immediately do the math to the middle and see if I can get myself there. Because then it's a win over where I started. But this wasn't just my decision to make. I consult with people, right? I advise people, more like it. And so I do the heads of the negotiation. I bring it to the people, and the people decide. And one of the bosses is like, no, I'm not interested. And I'm still not going to do this. No problem, dude. I get it. Give them the math. Give them the same facts that I would give a vendor about the scenario and say, hey, this is this, that's that. What do you think? No, I'm not interested. Okay, cool. No problem. So we get, whatever. There's like a 10-store group. And inside the stores, we're okay. All right. 8 decide they're fine. 2 decide they're not. Well, no. 1 decided they're not. It's like 8 of them were on out of the 10. So of the 8, 7 decided yes, 1 decided no. The other 2 were already out. They tried to get those 2 back. Those 2 were still uninterested. Because, guys, once a dealer lives without a vendor for 6 to 12 months, they kind of realize they don't really need you. Sorry. I mean, it's just not, it's not that hard to see. If I fired you and my number doesn't change or stays the same, you were of little to no value to me. Okay, fair enough. So we do it. The one store holds out. They come back and they say, well, why? Here's his number. So they take his number. But now that opens up a whole nother problem because now I know that they're willing to do that, right? So we've got to kind of say, hey, hold on a second. If you're going to give these guys another couple hundred, you're going to have to find another couple hundred for these guys. And that upset the apple cart, but that's the facts, okay? The other thing that I do not like during any negotiation, ever, is the pressure and presence of time. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit in my DMs. You don't have urgency. You don't know what it's like to sell. Okay, whatever, fine. Guess what? I don't sell that way. I'm a long-term salesman, man. I'm in the longest of the long games. In life, in business, you name it, I'm in it for the fucking long game. So, when you take the time presence and you say something like, if I had my phone right now, if it wasn't recording the show, I'd show it to you. And it says, can he sign this deal tonight? The 29th of February. No, he's gone. Oh no. Not sure I can keep the free offer. I'm over it. Like instantaneous. I text back, sorry, if that's the case, we're already out. We're already out because none of us will operate this way. Now, some of you are saying, Sean, but that's what salesmen do when they sell cars. Right, and I think that's stupid too, okay? I think it's dumb too to use the last of the month because you're going to be in business next fucking month. And if you're not, you got bigger problems. So I never played the pressure. I always argue with my bosses. Some guys that are watching the show used to work with me around that time. They fucking hated me. Sean, where are the deals? They'll be here tomorrow. Sean, come on. It's the last day of the month. Don't care. Need deals for tomorrow. You're a sandbagger. No, I'm a realist. There's a difference. I'm not here to pressure. And because if you do that and you don't get the sale, you're not likely to get the sale. And sometimes when you make deals with people under pressure, those deals end up biting you in the ass. Negative CSI, no referrals, no service business, you name it, okay? So I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. It works pretty fucking well, all right? And it has to do with respecting people's decision-making time period, as well as this idea that there's no over and above pressure. One of the most disgusting things I see is when we're at the shows. And it happened in Vegas. We were there this last year with a good friend of mine / client. And we were out to a really bitchin' dinner. We were all having a great time with another vendor, talking shit, doing whatever. He gets this text that they're going to buy tickets to a game. They're going to do this. They'll come and fit the bill because they know we're at an expensive restaurant if he signs on the paper right now. Gross, dude. Blech. That is vomiting shit. Get a life. That's boiler room nonsense. No one needs it. And I told him right then and there, don't you even think about signing a deal with these people ever. I don't give a shit if they've got the coolest product in the world. That is no way to go into a relationship pressured and pieced together over spending thousands of dollars to acquire one customer. What does that say about what you make? Right? Like, I don't think people put all that together where a client's like, wait a second, he's willing to come like pick up $3,000 worth of bills and I'm only a small fish. What's he making on each fish? A lot, bro. That's why he's willing to do it. That's why it's scummy. That's why end of the month pressure is scummy. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay? Same for the vendors. So because we're in price increase season, just beware of your data And know that you don't have to say yes. As a matter of fact, I implore you, almost out of will, to just say no. And see where it takes you, like any good cardio. Don't forget, people who run dealerships are salesmen, they're saleswomen, they're professionals in the sales business. Reverse that on these vendors. Have your facts. Be ready to roll. But because the vendors are out there doing it, you must be prepared, my friends. Thank you all so much for joining me. Next week on the show, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the sales process. This has got me fired up, and I want to talk about sales and follow-up and how, I'm not rarely in a sales position where I have to be involved in being sold. It happened recently and kind of blew my mind. Thanks a lot. Have yourselves a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.